Hello everyone, this is In-Game Arts with another boxing, another offline product game review. This is Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice for the PlayStation 4, but being played and tested on my PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here, it's just the base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0. Now, sadly, there was an update available. This update size was 4 gigabytes big and will take you to version 1.06 since the time of this video. Now, like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I didn't experience any massive game-breaking bugs or issues. To be perfectly frank, the game worked perfectly to beginning to end, which is extremely nice to see, and as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now, this update just basically said bug fixes and rebalancing issues, and as well as the inclusion of some cosmetical changing outfits, as well as like some boss rush mode. So nothing truly crucial to the experience, and as I said, I played the game without this update and I didn't experience any progression issues or anything like that. So it is, even though it's pretty big, or 4 gigabyte update, it's nice to see that it's not ultimately required or adds a massive added content to the experience, other than boss rush mode, which, to be perfectly frank, these kinds of games from Software are always kind of like a boss rush mode if you think about it, because you're always fighting to get to that next boss, and the bosses are always the main pieces in From Software games. But I'm getting derailed. But anyway, it's nice to see that this game was completely pretty much an intact package, as well as there were no DLC or added missing content in terms of like expansions, cosmetics, or whatever in terms of that kind of stuff. So that was very nice and very rare, especially nowadays. And this is my first time playing Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, so it was very interesting to see the different mechanics and ideas they went into this game. Overall, I did enjoy the game. I got the return ending, and overall the experience was relatively enjoyable. There are some minor issues and problems, and I'll go into details in a second, but the game starts off as you play as the wolf, and your job is to protect a particular person, and that person, you get separated from that person, and now your job is to go find them, rescue them, and try to fulfill your duties as a shinobi, as your job is to protect this person. I don't want to go into too many details of the story, because again, I try to avoid spoilers in these videos. It's very just straightforward. I was a little surprised about that. But the one thing that really stood out from any other From Software, especially the Souls-like kind of game, is that this game is very vertical, where you can climb and jump and swing and stuff like that. So it's very different from that aspect. So some people are going to really enjoy the more fluidness of the game. To me, I think the game could have been a little bit more fluid in certain aspects, but overall, I did enjoy the game. It's immensely more than, let's say, Elden Ring, because I didn't really enjoy Elden Ring all that much because of that huge open world. This doesn't have that, so it's really approachable. I still like Bloodborne more. Bloodborne is just a masterpiece of a game, and this game was enjoyable because it doesn't have that huge open world, but the parrying system was very interesting. It was kind of interesting to see the different ideas from the software. You have your typical Dark Souls or Demon Souls, where the game was all about defensive and maybe occasional magic. Most people probably do the defensive role where you get a bunch of armor and a shield. Bloodborne was more the aggressive stance where you have to play offensively. There's no guarding or anything like that, and there's barely a parrying system. That's with your gun, and that's if you choose to do that. So the game was a very dodge, weave, tack, dodge, weave, and always pushing forward, be on the offensive. While in Sekiro, it's all about the parrying system from like the Souls game with the shield. Now the game focuses on entirely trying to parry some of the attack to be able to expose their weakness and do the killing blow. So it's kind of interesting to see these taking small little pieces from the original series, from the Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and Demon Souls, and expanding upon one particular element of that game. Like Bloodborne was more of offensive with no defense, while Sekiro is all about the parrying system. It is very interesting. I think they did a very good job about it. But I want to go into a few little details. There was some small frame rate drops in specific areas. This is very minor, but it's my job. I got to note it down. And it didn't affect gameplay or anyway, but you might see some minor frame rate drops. There was some questionably long load times at certain moments, but that didn't really bug me that much. Sometimes the camera can get very wonky when you lock on the person, especially if it's an enemy that moves around a lot. That camera can be very disorienting, whipping around and stuff like that. This has always been kind of an issue with From Software games, from like Demon Souls and so forth, but since this game is a little bit faster than like Demon Souls or Dark Souls or Elden Ring, the camera can be very disorienting and whipping around and stuff like that. And as well as like trying to hook shot between between areas can sometimes be a little finicky if you don't got your camera looking at the right area to be able to get the little indicator to let you know, hey, grapple or backstabbing. Sometimes if you move your camera just slightly, the character, you won't backstab them, you just do a regular attack. That got a little annoying. I personally, for me, this is debatable. I don't know if it's maybe my monitor or my issue. I felt like that there's a slight delay in the blocking, where you think that you should hit the parrying system right as you're about to get hit, but there's a slight delay when you press that button and when he brings up the sword to do the guard or parrying. I don't know if this is probably my monitor or just me, just particularly. It doesn't feel like on point where I had to press the button just a slightly earlier before they hit me. It was a little annoying to me because I was always in the mindset that you should parry the attack right as it's about to hit you, not a couple frames or a couple. It just you think you need to hit it right as it's about to hit you, but you should press the button just a little before that. There was some minor getting stuck environments, like a little bitty rock or the ground might be a little bit higher on the scale, and you'll find your character getting stuck on it and moving. Or trees, since they're rounded off, you think you should just slide around them, but you'll get like stuck on them. That got a little annoying, especially in heated battles. You get stuck on this little bitty rock or a little bitty cliff up ledge on something, and it just completely ruins you. And since the game has it where you can't easily walk off ledges, which is kind of nice, it's kind of definitely different from other From Software games like Demon Souls and Dark Souls. Sometimes you can, even though you wanted to walk right off, the game kind of prevents you because it's got like a magical wall. You can't jump off of it, but you can't just accidentally walk off of it. That was sometimes a blessing and a curse at certain moments in the game. Now this one, people are going to probably disagree and argue with me on this one. The game has a system where the game will pop up with an indicator to let you know a power attack is going to happen. You can do one of three things. You could either dodge away from the attack, or you have to parry the attack, or you have to jump. Now, my problem is that all it does is display a random Japanese word, and there's no way to. I can't read Japanese, so I have no idea what it's saying. I'm assuming it means a warning, but first one. That warning can be distracting because I'm trying to watch the fight and I see this little thing pop up with a red indicator and it distracts me from being able to see the enemy. Secondly, it basically tells me no information. It just tells me to be ready. But the problem is, if you have an attack you can't defend, you can't sometimes dodge certain attacks, and if you have to jump between certain ones, you don't really know until you've already been hit and then you've done a system of trial and error. To me, this was done very poorly. What they should have done is probably had maybe either different colors to indicate what you should press, or instead of that, because some people are colorblind, you maybe have a symbol, like a foot jumping, and that means to jump. It would be a lot better, because I hated the fact that when this thing indicated, there's no way for me to know until it's already happened, and I've learned from trial and error. And I've talked about this multiple times. I'm not a fan of trial and errors. The game should provide you with all information to react and do something. Put a little word up there saying warning tells me nothing. Basically, you fall down into a rock, paper, scissors system where there's an indicator. What are you going to do? Are you going to do rock? Are you going to do papers? Or are you going to do scissors? And if you're wrong, you get hit. And for some cases, one hit could get you killed. So I think they could have done a better system. Sure, they maybe could have had a difficulty where maybe on easier difficulty, there would be a little indicator. Like, say, blue means to dodge, yellow means to parry, or dodge forward for a thrust attack, and another one means to jump up. And maybe on higher difficulties, you can have it with just one color, and maybe the max difficulty, there is no indicator. Me, I am always for accessibility features and comfortability and choices how people want to play their games. I am not in defense of get good. I am not part of that community. I have beaten this game. I have got like I said, the return ending. I beat the Demon of Hatred as well. And I still don't agree that this game should be forcefully difficult. I think people should have the right to choose whether they want an easier experience or a harder experience. It takes nothing away from you to having the game to be easier or harder. I even talked about this with Armored Core 6. I actually wanted that difficulty to be higher. The game was actually too easy. I wish there was a difficulty system in that game to be very hard or whatever. regardless, there are some issues, but the game was enjoyable, and I did enjoy the game, and I could really see myself coming back to it. More so like than like Elden Ring, because I'm not a fan of huge open world games. I still like Bloodborne more than this game, but this was still enjoyable, and I did like the fluidness, the ideas, and it was just a very interesting and fun game, especially in the fact there's no equipment. You really can't power level yourself through the game, which is an interesting idea as well. I did find the game actually easier than like other Souls games because of the parrying system it is a bit on the forgiving side once you figure out the parry at a delay, not when it's about to hit you. You do it before you're about to get hit. Once you figure that out, and then you start like learning how to basically, it's more of a test of patience to slowly whittle down your enemy so you can do the killing blow. Maybe it's more irritating for some people if you lack patience in terms of slowly whittling down your opponent, as well as that this game may seem like you could free roam, which you can, and you can get some extra resources doing so. The game clearly has a one-track path, and if you divert from that path, the enemy scaling is so high that it can be a very frustrating experience. Just stick with the direction they want you to go, and you can have a much better experience. In the end, this was an enjoyable experience. I don't want this video to be too long, but I do want to point out that about the Game of the Year editions. There are many physical copies that's been made, and I have had many people ask me to cover every single one of them. I'm going to post images on every single one. I have bought this game 4 times. I have gotten the first vanilla version, which you're seeing right here. I bought the Game of the Year sticker version, which you'll see in a picture with a little Game of the Year. I've bought the Gold Bar Game of the Year edition, which you'll see a picture again with the gold bar at the top. Those are all 1.0. There are no updates on the disc of those physical copies. There is only one physical copy that is known, and that is the Game of the Year edition from Japan. I do have that physical copy, but keep in mind that physical copy, though it is more up to date, does not support any English at all. There's no English support in that physical copy. So it's not that bad in terms of if you've already known the game, but if you've never played the game, I do not recommend it. As well as a bonus little information, if you're first starting up this game, the game will have the settings set to default. If you like the game to be set in English and English voice acting, you need to go to the settings and set the game to English, not default. If you play it default, then it will be in Japanese voice acting. Go to English if you want English voice acting. So, like always, thank you all so much for watching. I will try to leave links to this particular version if I best I can. Most people are probably just going to send you the Game of the Year edition or the Gold Bar Game of the Year edition. They're all the same on what's on disc, 1.0. I know it's frustrating. I'm much like you. I would love to see a more updated version, and there is, but that is only in Japanese. Hopefully, maybe one day we'll see like a PS5 version or something like that. But I'm tired of buying so many. I bought 4 copies of this game so far, and I'm done buying it. I'm only going to buy it until we get a 100% confirmation, like a PS5 version or something like that. So like always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye-bye!